The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Thomas Sanherho. Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Dom. How's it going?
Very well, thanks. And Jack Barazini. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Dom.
So we have a fun show today. We get some good stories that we want to talk about, but I want to start with something a little fun. This is sort of a tradition for tech podcasts and podcasts in general this time of year, where we roll out our Christmas gift guides. And so over the next few weeks, because we have several different panels that we have, we're going to be talking about some of our suggestions for stuff that you may want to think about for the gadget head in your life, or to put on your own Christmas list, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm looking at even just the list already, and I'm thinking, oh, that could be nice on my list. So we'll get started with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of go around, and we'll each do a couple. We'll do one. We'll go around, then we'll come back and do a second one, and that should cover us. And the idea is these are a lot of times these lists have like wicked expensive stuff, like hundreds of dollars worth of things, and I was thinking things that are more reasonable. I mean, some of these may be maybe a couple bucks here, but they're good long-term values, shall we say, and some more expensive, some less expensive, and it's just something to think about. So I'm going to get started with my first Christmas gift idea, and mine comes from the fact that I upgraded my iPad earlier this year, and I passed on my old one to my daughter, who was in need of a computer. And the iPad is plenty of computer for her with it. It had the keyboard with it. So I got my new iPad Pro, and I needed a keyboard, and I decided to go for the Brydge keyboard. That was a pick of the week from Joanne a few months ago, and so I went and picked it up. And yeah, it is all that and more. If you have an iPad Pro of any sort, it is a great keyboard to have. And the nice part is I don't have it in the Brydge keyboard all the time. It has these little clips that you slide it into, and it holds it in via friction and tension. And I don't like having to pull it out and put it in all the time, because the last time I did that with a previous keyboard case, it ended up breaking. I pull it out because I have like certain places I want to put it and that sort of thing, and I don't want to have this big keyboard hanging off of it. So it doesn't sit in it most of the time, but when I need it, it's there, and it feels like a laptop. I mean, it really feels like a real computer, and so it's a great compromise. They're not cheap exactly, depending on the size you get. Like for the smaller Brydge iPad keyboard, it is they're $119 right now, which is not bad for a keyboard case. And they're backlit keys. There's a long life battery in it. It's a really good value. So
does it feel like a Mac keyboard?
It does. The good ones.
Right. I was gonna say like the good like laptop keyboard
yes.
kind of feel to it. That's a good important point for me. If I'm using a Mac, I really want the feel of the keys to be right.
And it's solid. It's an aluminum body. It's not plastic, and it feels solid under your hand, and which means it's a little heavier than some are. But so it's a bit of a compromise, but I think it's good. I mean, it makes it feel like a laptop once you have it in it. And people will want to just carry a laptop around. Well, yeah, but except my MacBook doesn't have a touchscreen, which this does. So
trade-off.
Yes. And you can't take the keyboard off of your MacBook, or well, you can, but then it's ruined. So that's my first Christmas gift idea for our ongoing Christmas gift guide. So let's hear from one of you guys. Thomas, what's your Christmas gift idea for the tech head in your life?
All right, so I'm doing a maker theme with mine this time around.
All right.
mine's a little bit more on the expensive side, but this is something that's going to keep on giving. And I think when I frame it the right way, a lot of people are going to be less reluctant about it. So this one's an Ender 3 Pro. I've mentioned it before. It runs between $200 and $250. So that's, starting off there, but it's a 3D printer that you can use in your house. And I will tell you, I have now a $3,000 printer at the place that I work, and I like my Ender 3 Pro better, honestly. So, just throwing that out there. The difference being, this is for a tech head, so it's a little fiddly. The Ender is very much an electronics. Somebody put it together that knew electronics, and they put it together. And you're gonna have to learn how to use it. Then you're gonna have to fiddle with it a little bit, and you're gonna have to take some parts off of it and put some new parts on. But when you get used to it, it's really not that bad. There's plenty of YouTube tutorials out there. And the filament is really not that expensive. You can get a good kilogram of filament for about $15. And that's going to last you a good long time. I think it took me about 3 months of pretty constant printing to run out of that first kilogram of filament that I used.
Cool. And what kind of things do you make with it?
If you want to find out what kind of things you can make, go to thingiverse.com and just look at all of the stuff they have on there, because there's everything. It's from the most functional kind of things like doorknobs and cabinet handles to just ridiculous, silly things like, I use it for Dungeons and Dragons all the time. So it's cool. That's where most of my use comes from.
Awesome.
But the stuff's really, really sturdy too. And so I've printed stuff for my kids' Nerf guns that's like the guts of the Nerf gun, not just stuff to add on to it, but like the real insides of the Nerf gun that get really beat up. And if you print them in the right stuff, they work.
I actually have a set of bagpipe 3D files that I've been wanting to try out. So maybe I'll have to get one of those and see if I can put that together.
See, there you go.
I tell you, actually, a few years ago, I had a KitchenAid mixer where the gears were made of plastic and they kept wearing out. And I was such a pain in the neck to keep buying these gears, and I had like a bunch of them because they would wear out. But if I could 3D print them, that would have been I ended up going for the higher end mixer because my wife was just made. It was because it was making bread, and bread grinds the plastic gears. Yeah. The slightly higher end mixer has metal gears, which it should. But that's an interesting idea. Like it's not just fun, but it can be practical for making things you could use around the house and that sort of stuff. Very cool.
And I'll say, as a homeschooling parent, there are a lot of manipulative opportunities that you have. So you can do a lot of teaching tools, a lot of manipulatives. If your kids are having trouble learning about angles, there's a lot of stuff out there that's available for you to teach them about how angles work. You can, and you just print it on the fly. You don't have to buy it and order it, and if you don't need to print it, you don't. But then if you do, you've got the accessibility there to be able to do it.
I wonder if there are Lego patterns online. Probably
no
open source.
They're not. No. Not there are block patterns online.
There are block patterns with
patterns
with the circular bumps on them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's also minifig lines that exist that they look very similar to other minifig lines that might cost you an arm and a leg to buy. So.
That is an interesting idea. In fact, so in other words, this could be a real cost saver, actually. Depending
on how you want to look at it. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great idea. I like that as a gift idea. So Jack, what's your gift idea?
My first one is the Kindle Paperwhite. The new one, I think it came out over the summer. It's waterproof, which is nice. I have the older one. It's not waterproof, but I've never had any issues with that. It would be the one piece of technology where if I could never use any other tech again, I would pick that, because you can carry so many books with you. And I'll read a lot of like really, really thick history books or really, really thick novels. And it's nice to be able to do that without having a 1,200 page book in your hand. I really like that. The backlight is nice because you can read in the dark and it doesn't cause eye strain like if you're using an LCD. So that's my pick of the week. I think it's $129 with the special offers, and it's a bit more without.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like the new one. I'm with you. I love my Kindle. I've had one for years. I love having dozens of books with me at all times. I remember the days like going on vacation and my suitcase, half the weight of my suitcase is the 3 books I want to read while I'm on vacation. Yeah, and now it's just the Kindle is in there.
Yeah, I'm reading Brothers Karamazov right now, and it's nice to read that without having the actual physical book. 'Cause that's a
No
big one.
kidding.
That's
Wow.
a big book.
Yeah. I like the new paperweight. Yeah, I like the idea that it's waterproof. We're thinking of my son getting my son a Kindle at some point, and given his he's a young boy, he's gonna take it with him into the mud or whatever, leave it out in the rain or whatever. The idea that it's waterproof is great. And I like that the screen is flush now. Like the older ones, it was sort of inset and there was a bezel, but now it's sort of flat all the way across, like your phone is. So
Yeah.
that's cool. That's a good pick. Good pick. And again, I guess it's good for kids. If you have an Amazon account and you already have your Kindle, and you can set up as a family account, and all the Kindles in the family can access the same library, which is really good.
And there's also Kindle Unlimited, which I think is like $9.99 a month.
Right.
So it's not a bad value.
Right. If the books you want to read are there, I haven't so far. I haven't found that it's get the books I want to read, but maybe it's getting better over time. I'll have to take a look at that again. Great. That is awesome. So let's go over the second round of gift ideas. Mine is it's potentially going to be superseded in the new year, but we'll see because of rumored products and that sort of thing. But I've been using the TileMate, the tile tracker system for a while. I have the Tile in my wallet. I have a Tile in my Kindle because the Kindle itself doesn't have a tracker. I have tiles in my kids' stuff, like my kids' bags. Where's my bag? Well, let's find it. Let's find out where you put it.
The shoes. Oh my gosh.
Oh, if I could put it,
buy something, put in shoes.
Well, I mean,
Can you stick them to kids?
Well, yeah, you can track down the kids. Well, the nice thing is the new Tile. They've updated some of their trackers and added some new ones. So they have one. What they used to be, they had one where like they sold like this the double-sided tape stuff, the gluey like 3M stick on the wall stuff. They sold that, and you would you'd get that and you'd stick it to the back of your tile and stick it on something, which was okay, but it eventually wore off. Well, now they're selling these what they call stickers, which are made to stick to things. And
oh, that's awesome.
It's a little better. They have this new Tile Slim, which is the size of a credit card and just a little bit thicker. I mean, frankly, it's like I think it's as thick as the Apple card, because it's like a thick credit card. Great for your wallet or anything else like that. And then and the other great thing is that they've done is they made the batteries replaceable, so you don't have to buy a new one and throw it away and that sort of thing. You can replace the batteries in them. So they can be a little pricey to start with, but you can, like there's a Best Buy has a 4-piece pack with a 2 tile stickers, a TileMate. It has the loop for like a key ring or something, and the Tile Slim, which is a credit card size one, for $70. Amazon has them cheap. They're so it's pretty good. And the way it works is you have an app on your phone and it connects via Bluetooth, and you can just, when you're looking for it, you just hit the thing on your phone, just like Find My Phone, and it will beep the tile, and you go walk around and find it. And the nice thing is because of the tile ecosystem, the more people that have tiles and have this app on their phone is noticing tiles in the wild as you walk around. And so if you drop your keys out, in the city, it could potentially alert you that's where it is. It's the last place it was seen. So it's good. And the reason I say they could be superseded is Apple is rumored to be coming out with something of their own soon. Who knows when? Maybe next year. It's rumored, so I don't think Tile is going anywhere. They've got a big handle on this market, and so we'll see what happens with that. But for now, I think it's a really good product. So, Thomas, what's your second gift idea?
Okay, so this one is more on the for the DIYer that's interested in electronics, but maybe either knows a lot about electronics already and is interested in moving into kind of the more robotics or modern version of electronics, or the kid who's really, and by kid I mean anyone age 8 to 108 here, who's interested in learning about electronics and getting into electronics in a kind of modern setting. and it's an Elegoo kit. It's an Arduino board, basically, that they've kind of proprietarily managed. And what it is, it's called the Elegoo Super Kit, and it comes with all Elegoo. Let me get it. Elegoo Uno Super Starter Kit. There you go. And it comes with all of these things. It comes with wires, with a bunch of different sensors, a couple of different motors, and lots of things that you can wire into a breadboard and then have them do something. And you can program it on your computer with a free app that comes with the Arduino app that you can get for free from the Arduino website. And you program it. You have to learn a little bit of C code, but they teach you the C code. So C++, and they teach you all the stuff you need. Comes with a great PDF that's really clear, really easy to understand, and teaches you all sorts of different electronics principles. And then you can use these things to do all sorts of stuff that you might want to do. So if you want to make a little remote control car, you can learn how to do that with this. If you wanted to make, I know the one thing that we're thinking about using it for is we're going to get some beehives. I want to monitor all of the temperature changes and the humidity changes that are going on inside of the hive. They have sensors for that you can Bluetooth back to stuff that you have inside. And, then you can just fix it and forget it, and not have to go out and keep checking things that are out there, but have it warn you and ping your phone if you want to. So it's really versatile, and it's so easy to teach that I actually used it in my classroom this year. I had 18 kids in a class. I had 6 of the kits, so there were 3 kids per kit, and they managed to learn a ton from those kits. They got through every one of the lessons over the course of a 6 weeks period and really loved it. They enjoyed it.
That is great. That is a great idea. We have a more simplified. I have to look at what it is. My son has a more simplified electronics learner kit. This would be the next step up for him, I think.
Yeah, Snap Circuits is the other one that I would say. Yeah, which is fantastic in and of its own right. If you want to get kids into electronics, Snap Circuits is great. But this one would be that next level where, okay, now you got a breadboard and you actually have to wire little things together and learn about current and flow, and then there's a little board in there to program it. That's the Arduino style board, and you just throw a program on there, run the program, see how it works, prototype it, make it fail, and then run it again.
Awesome. That is cool. I like it. I like it a lot. That's a good one. Jack, what's your next gift idea?
My next gift idea is the WASD keyboard. It's a mechanical keyboard. I believe it runs 140 to 160. Like if you want to get a small one, you can I think it's 140. If you want to get a full keyboard with the 10 key and everything, it's 160. I've had one for about 5 or 6 years now. It's still the original one I bought, and it is a lifesaver in terms of typing every time. Yeah,
I've got one too.
Once you go with mechanical keyboards, there's no going back to the squishy keys.
Oh, it is. I've tried a lot of keyboards. It's a little tricky if you're a podcaster because you try to type quietly while you're recording. But yes, you're right. It is the feel of the keys is so much like. I mean, I'm older. I've been doing this a long time. It feels like those old keys that it feels like you've hit the key. I've had too many of those, like you mentioned, those sort of squishy keys in it. They bend and they don't quite type correctly. This is a very solid feeling. That is good.
They're really nice. They're easy to clean too. You just pop the keys off, shake it out.
Yep.
And I like that you can customize them on the WASD page. I want to get one at some point that has like the TNG LCARs. So maybe that'll be my Christmas gift to myself this year.
That actually is one thing that would make it a really cool Christmas gift is to customize it or to get one of these keycap sets for it that really kind of fit the personality of the person you're getting for, because they have all kinds of key sets. Whether you're an old guy like me and you want something that looks like the old IBM keyboards, or you're looking for something that's like customized to a to like a TV show or something like that. That's a great idea. And the other thing I like about this is that the switches have different feels. They're the Cherry MX switches, and anybody who's a keyboard nerd knows what that is. And they are specified by color, so the cherry browns, cherry reds, cherry greens, and you can buy a tester that lets you get the sense of the feel and the noise and the sound of the key, and then you can decide which set you want to buy. Now, if you're buying this for somebody, you won't go wrong just buying one of the the keyboards themselves. But for someone if they're really nerdy about it, it's one way of figuring out exactly the kind you want to get. So yeah, that's a good pick. That's a good choice. So we've got a handful of ideas to start this process out, and in the coming weeks we'll have some more from our panels, and hopefully there'll be something for everyone in the list, and something that you can get to or maybe get for yourself. Very nice. All right, let's move on to our first story of the week, which is I think one of the big stories is that Google Stadia has launched. Now, Google Stadia is this new gaming service that Google introduced, I think it was earlier this year, and it's basically you don't have to own the game system here. This was the promise: is you can connect to their Google servers over the internet, and you'll be able to play any video game eventually, any video game as if you had a high-end gaming system right there. All you need is an internet connection, the question is does it live up to the promise? And some of the stories, some of the reviews, the early reviews, maybe not as much as they might have hoped. So what did you guys think? From you in what you've read of it, or even if you've tried it. I don't know if you've tried it or not. But what do you think of Stadia?
It looks to me like, do you remember OnLive? I think they came out around 2006 or 2007.
Yeah.
It was pretty much the same thing. It was a streaming gaming service, and it was a bit before its time. It didn't work that well, and I think they went out of business in like 2013 or 2014. But it was pretty much the same thing as this. And this looks like, since it has Google behind it, I'm sure it'll be better, but I'm sure it's not going to be like playing a top-of-the-line gaming PC or a PlayStation 4, especially just based on the bandwidth crunch there's going to be. You're going to hit that bottleneck, and it's just not going to be that great. It looks to me like a more full-featured version of Apple Arcade. Like, the games look like less like just upgraded phone games and more like actual games. Like, I think Destiny 2 is one of their launch games.
Right.
But I think it's going to be one of those things where maybe down the line it's going to be worth it. But at this point, anyone who's serious about gaming is going to either want to stay on a console or just get a PC.
Right.
Well, I don't even think it's going to be something that you're going to find down the line, because so many of these games are dependent on split-second decision making, and even come down to the button click and how quickly it's made. When you're talking about the top end games, when you're talking about games like Destiny, when you're talking about games like League of Legends, things like that they really need. You need to know that your equipment is top of the line, and that your internet connection is also top of the line, and that those two things are separate, that they don't depend on each other.
Right.
And so that's my big my big question about it is, where's the viability with the way that most games are going to a multiplayer system, and most of the high end games are really not even capping out the capabilities of home computers yet. It's kind of there was a market. I think the market was met, and then it just the internet was not good enough to catch up to where it needed to be.
Right, and I think it's gonna double the latency you're gonna get, because if you're running a multiplayer game on your computer, all you should be sending back is the location of your character. But if you have to pull the data to your system and then push your location and your movements back, it's gonna increase everything.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things to keep in mind is the pricing of it. So here's what happens. You pay $130 for the Google Stadia Founders Edition. And what you get for that is you get a Google Chromecast Ultra dongle, and you pay $10 a month after your first a 3-month trial. And you're paying $10 a month, but then on top of that, you've got to buy the games. So you're paying $20 to $60, just like you would for an Xbox or PlayStation game. So really, when it comes down to it, you're not having to shell out for the console, say, like the Xbox or the PlayStation. Mm-hmm. So you're probably saving half of that cost. But what you're giving up is, like you said, that prime hardware that's right in front of you, not somewhere on the other side of an internet connection, servers, firewalls, and all the rest that's going to cause you to lose latency or increase your latency and have less of a game performance. thing, and then they talk about you right now. The only phone it works on is the Pixel, not even other Android phones. So and then otherwise you have to play it through a Chrome web browser on a laptop or a desktop, which
that'll be great.
has its own issues.
Well, and I don't even know, I don't know why you would want to play some of these games on your phone. It's annoying enough trying to figure out how to work some of the games that have controllers built into them without now you've got a WASD keyboard and a mouse. And it is not top of my list to even be interested in, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, same here.
Well, this was the thing. When they announced it, everyone said what they're talking about, what they're saying sounds like the holy grail of gaming. You don't have to buy the system. You just pay a flat fee, and you can play any game you want on the stuff you have already. Wow, that sounds like a Garden of Eden for gamers. And then, as usual, when it rolls out, it's actually not quite what everyone thought it might be, or the way it sounded. And I think that's where we are.
Yeah, I think it's too much of an investment for casual gamers, but it's not enough power for hardcore gamers. So I don't really know who it's for.
Right. I think with a lot of things like Google, they kind of roll things out half baked and hope that they will eventually fully bake it.
Or just get rid of it in a couple of years.
Or just get rid of it in a couple of years. That's right. I think my favorite tweet about this was, I don't know why everybody's so down on Stadia. My Google Plus circles are really into it.
And my Google Reader is full of articles about it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of disappointed too, because it's there's a lot of opportunity here. And this is the thing that really bothers me. I think that this might still be ahead of its time, in the sense that for augmented reality and virtual reality games, this is the way they're going to be played.
Right.
You're not going to have a system that's going to be able to handle what you need to for a truly augmented or virtual reality game. But we're not strapping these things to our face yet. Nobody's really ready to take their phone and strap it to their face. I know they've got the cardboard things that you can do that with, but it's, nobody's doing it. Seriously.
Nobody wants to do that.
It's so gimmicky still. But we're getting there. We're really close to that being something that we start doing. And once we do, then you are going to need to be able to have a device that's low power, doesn't require much energy locally, but can connect really well to the web and play the game remotely. So I hope they don't do it and then kill it before that becomes a thing, because I really would like to see that become a thing.
Right. Well, you combine this with what they tried to do with Google Glass, which they said all along was, this is not a final product. This is our first try at something, and we want to do it in the real world. It'll come back. Apple's got some kind of glasses that people have talked about that's coming, and it's going to start off the Apple thing is apparently going to start off connecting to your phone, but eventually go phoneless, so you can be out in the wild without your phone. But you're right. In all of this stuff is eventually going to depend on being able to connect remotely and offload all of the heavy duty work to a server somewhere. And it's going to rely on ubiquitous, high speed, reliable internet, like 5G is promising, which we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Yes. Or Starlink, right. The satellite.
Starlink, yeah.
So we'll see. I think you're right. I think this is something else that's still ahead of its time, but is sort of the promise for something that will come, which would be nice. All right. Another story this week is about this decision by a court here in Boston, where I am, that ruled that warrantless searches at the border of your phone, laptop, tablet is unconstitutional. And what this is it doesn't mean that they can't search your devices, but the same rules apply at the border that they do everywhere else. They have to have probable cause. They have to have a warrant. They can't just say to random Joe Schmo, you happen to be coming through an airport or passing through a border checkpoint, you need to unlock your phone and let us rifle through your data. So what do you guys think of this? Thomas, I'm sure you have an opinion about.
I definitely have an opinion about it. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out in the case of them rifling through a foreign national's phone, because I know that that's sort of where the case is coming from, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Constitution applies rights to foreign nationals and limits our government's ability to do things to someone who's coming through an airport that's from another country that maybe even is on a suspected terror list, but they don't have a specific warrant for that person's phone. They just have a general, this person's on a list of suspicious characters, right?
Right.
So I don't know, because you know, we got this whole other issue of like, well, everybody from certain countries has been tried to be pegged as a terrorist. Or earlier in this presidency, they were trying to say all of these countries can't come in anymore because they're, you know, it's known that terrorists come from these countries. So I would like to see where this leads, because I think it's an advance on freedom, but it's still got to run through a gamut.
Right. This particular case was about 11 people, specific people, 11 cases, who are 10 legal residents of the U.S. and 1 lawful permanent resident. So none of them were visitors, like you said. Like none of these were foreign nationals. None of them were even people entering illegally or anything like that. These are all. In fact, one of the people is a natural-born U.S. citizen who is a NASA engineer who had his NASA-issued phone, taken from him and told to give the PIN. I mean, this is a phone that probably has government, at least classified information on it, if not secret information on it, and, you know, random Border Patrol officer going through it. So these are some issues that come up in these cases. One was a retired U.S. Air Force officer who had been on vacation in Europe. So what is one of the things that comes up is that they still can search. And so what does it say? It's this article from Sophos, their Naked Security blog, says it's legal for border agents to look through the devices of travelers who get referred for a secondary inspection. So primary inspection is travel documents and passports. But if there is cause for them to do a secondary inspection, they can search phones, thumb drives, computers, and other electronic devices. And that's where they have to have probable cause. They have to have warrants. They have to have, what does it say? Border officers are required to demonstrate, quote, individualized suspicion of contraband before they can search a traveler's device. So that's the, what does that actually mean in practice?
I think it means you need to have TrueCrypt on your computer and have all the partitions be hidden.
Right. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that's a piece of software called TrueCrypt, which will encrypt your drive, but goes beyond that to kind of hide the real data. And you can have something that's hidden, and then there's a part that's encrypted that you can unencrypt that makes it look like you've unencrypted your whole drive, but it's sort of a dummy, right? Is that what am I on?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. There's also like 1Password, the password manager, also has a function where you can. I forget what they call it, but it's informally called like the border function, where before you go on your trip, you hit this button and it wipes all of your password information out of your 1Password on your phone, on your device. And when you get to the other end, you connect to the internet, you re-enter your master password, and it reloads it all. So if something happens to your phone or your laptop in that transit, all your passwords, which is, you know, the mother load of security, all your passwords aren't out in someone else's hands. The thing about this one story that got me was how they found, this inspector general found that they were copying people's data to thumb drives and then losing track of the thumb drives.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me.
This is the thing that I would like to see happen here is I would love, and this is where I would play the way I would play this is I don't know how much of the data I own on my phone, because I'm not really sure if there's copyrighted things that I have on my phone that I've agreed to have and that I've signed a license for, but that don't belong to someone else. And so if they did copy that data and then use that data or lose that data, that's illegal because I am the end user
Right.
and they are not. And so that would be an interesting intellectual property argument to make too, because they're talking about contraband, and contraband is things, but data has its own set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really sure how those two would play with each other, but I'd love to see that happen. I'd love to see somebody really push that issue.
Man, if they copied, if I say downloaded legally, because I say I have a Disney Plus subscription, and I've downloaded the latest episode of The Mandalorian, say, to my phone to watch while I'm traveling, and then they take that off of there, and it's on their computers, and they don't have a Disney Plus subscription.
Right.
Could Disney sue the federal government for copyright violation, or whatever government has it?
Or I mean, if you go up the scale a little bit, if you have a movie producer who has test footage that they've just got on their phone because they're reviewing it on their trip, and it gets taken and then it gets leaked by a TSA agent that doesn't have any moral qualms about doing that because we found it in a legal search, right? It's still not legal for them to have it.
Or somebody who works for the Department of Energy has information classified or at least what's the lower level, that just secure information that you don't want to get out there about nuclear capabilities, or somebody who works for McDonnell Douglas or any defense contractor, and this information is out there kicking around. You're right. It's a dangerous situation to say that just because you're crossing a border, it gives them the right to take your data. Why should data be treated differently from other property in that
right sense? Unless you get a warrant, you shouldn't be able to search through people's personal belongings.
Right. This is basic Bill of Rights, search and seizure, and that's the question. And this is part of a larger conversation about, in the digital age, what constitutes property, what constitutes ownership, what constitutes privacy, and how do we how is digital things, which are easier to copy, and you can make a perfect copy and still still have your copy, but someone else has it now too. How does that apply? And that's a larger conversation we're still working out as a society. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to point out that today, or recently, within the last couple of days, the former deputy director of the NSA, his take on Edward Snowden was, I thought that he was reckless, not a whistleblower in any way, shape, or form, but we are in a better place because of it. I do think we've got a different compact with all our overseers and with the American public. So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's I just saw that tweet come through on mine today. So it's I think we are talking about this stuff, and it's something that we weren't necessarily talking about just half a decade ago.
Right.
Well, it's also just an issue of applying what's in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to these concepts that the people who wrote those could never even have imagined. Mm-hmm. So you got to figure out how to interpret that for the modern age.
Right. It's similar to other conversations like gun control and those sorts of things, sticking to the principle of the right that we're trying to secure, and applying it to new technologies, new situations, and that's the difference. Right. Just like the idea of, once we're living on colonies on other planets and that sort of thing, how do our rights work in those sorts of situations? We kind of touched on a little bit. It was a couple weeks ago, but how do our rights work when we're in a colony on another planet, five light minutes from Earth? That sort of thing. That's a good question. Well, we went from the border searches to interplanetary rights. So
there you go.
Secrets of Tech goes everywhere. Awesome. So that's a couple of great discussions on some topics of the week. Before we get to our picks of the week, I do have a tip that I want to give to folks, something that I've been dealing with, and that is keep in mind that your power strips and your surge protectors do not have an unlimited lifespan. And in fact, they only last 5 or 6 years safely, and after that, they are not as safe as they once were. I mean, they won't all explode at once in your home on the 5th anniversary of you plugging it in, but they don't last forever. And I'm just in the process of beginning to replace all the power strips in my home office, which are one of them is just about 6 years old now that my computer's plugged into. So figure out how old your strips are, and if you don't know how old they are, they're probably older than you think, because everything is further in the past than I remember them to be. I went on Amazon and looked at my purchase history and found the particular power strip, and I'm like, oh, I bought that in 2013. That is kind of old. So what set me off on this course was I have in the kitchen, I have a power strip that my Echo and my coffee pot and a couple other things are plugged into, and it turned itself off the other day and then made a little noise. And I'm like, that's not safe. So,
yes.
So new power strip.
I know that noise you're talking about. I've heard that a couple of times at my house too.
Yes. So I actually went to the wirecutter.com, which is my preferred consumer review site. Found their top rated power strip. It's a Trip Light, and I ordered that for my kitchen. It's got a whole bunch of outlets, and I get some like a rice cooker and things that plug into that. So that's my tip this week for all of you, is to check how old your power strips are, and that's another potential gift idea. I mean, it's not the coolest of all. It's the socks and underwear of tech Christmas gifts, but it could be. If
you get one with USB chargers in it, though, you're adding value to someone's life.
Yeah, that's fancy.
Well, in fact, I have one that I might make I might put on my next Christmas gift guide list for the next show, because it's cool because the outlets rotate so that if you get a big power brick, you can fit it next to other plugs. That's always been my bugaboo, is that the plugs are so close together that you can't put a power brick on it. So
right.
So I might put that on my list next time. Awesome. So let's go on to our picks of the week, and we'll these are kind of separate from our Christmas gift ideas. You'll see how these are a little different from gift ideas. But Jack, why don't you go first? What's your pick of the week?
Mine ties into one of my gift ideas from earlier. It's the fact that on Amazon, there are tons and tons of books in the public domain that you can download for free. Like, I know I've gotten like a bunch of G.K. Chesterton or
yes.
Like Charles Dickens, like tons of classics. There's also a lot of independent publishers will put out free books. So those are more varying quality, but it's a lot of free stuff on there. But I really like how you can get all sorts of classics. There's like all of like Edward Gibbon's Rise and Fall of the Third, not Rise and Fall of the Reich,
Roman Empire,
that one.
Which take with a grain of salt, by the way. It's somewhat anti-Catholic, but it is a classic. It is a classic.
Yes, fair warning, but it is just those kind of things. A lot of free classics, so I definitely recommend that.
Definitely, yeah. When I got my daughter her Kindle a few years ago, we got all of the was it the Anne of Avonlea books are in the public domain? One of those older series is in the public domain, and we got a whole bunch of those for her. That is a great pick. That, and besides Amazon, you can also go to Project Gutenberg.
That's the other one I was going to recommend. Yeah.
That's
where I go for mine.
Those are their quality's somewhat uneven. I mean, because it's a public project, so some people are better editors than others. But I think over time, though, it's gotten better. It just as more people have gotten involved in fixing things up. So that is a great idea.
How on Amazon, they'll update the books from time to time, so you'll get a better translation or a better copy.
Yes, that's true. This is true. That's a great pick. Public domain ebooks to go with your new Kindle. Load up the Kindle for Christmas morning so that it's already full of stuff for them. That's a good point.
There you go.
Awesome. Thomas, what's your pick of the week?
Okay, so mine's a little weird. I follow a lot of YouTubers that have been getting dinged over the last few weeks for excessive violence or some other odd, bizarre complaint from YouTube, and they're having their videos demonetized.
What are you watching?
Well, so the thing is, like, it's not really anything weird. It's like it's video gamers that are playing games that are are inherently violent, but not like excessively gory or anything like that. And then I've been watching for years and have been they do great things. They are clear to avoid stuff and make it for a younger audience where they need to. I watch it with my kids too. So that's that. And then one of the guys is the slingshot guy from Germany, George is his name. And he does these fantastic videos, and he's been dinged for promoting violence because he's using weapons.
Guys had that problem too.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
And so it's upsetting. It's upsetting to me that YouTube is kind of like using this model to say we're going to demonetize you for whatever reason, and it seems like they have kind of a carte blanche on what it's their platform, so they can just say, okay, we're demonetizing you, but they're not giving any reason why. So my pick of the week is, if you have a YouTuber that you follow, make sure to support them through Patreon if they offer that option, because a lot of these guys, you don't realize how many hours go into editing the video. I mean, Dom was just talking about how many times he's edited podcasts for this week.
Yes.
And that's what these guys do for a living.
And video is 3 times as hard as editing audio. I'll say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember doing it. I did it for our parish. We put up a weekly video, and I remember, man, that thing took an entire 8-hour day worth of work to tape and then put together, make sure all the sound was right, make sure all the information was correct, and then up on the board. So these guys, they if they get demonetized, they really do, a lot of them, the content's just going to drop because they're not going to be able to maintain that same kind of schedule without some kind of support.
That is a very good point. I support several YouTubers myself. The Townsend channel, James Townsend, John Townsend. His store's called James Townsend. But he does 18th century reenacting in just a revolutionary era, basically. And they do a lot of cooking from that era, and they've just built a log cabin from that era using only the local tools. I give them a couple bucks a month because it's worth it to me to watch that, and the kids love it. It's educational. I agree. I think you should support if your favorite YouTube channels support. They ask for they have a Patreon opportunity. Throw them a couple bucks. I mean, obviously, SQPN, as I will say in a few minutes, we rely on patrons to support us through Patreon, and I think it is a great way for people to directly support the content that they love. So, excellent. I like that. All right, so my pick is an app for your iPhone, and it's called Unobstruct. And it's a simple app that does basically one thing. I mean, it does a couple things, but the main reason I have it, the main thing it does, is you ever notice those social media sharing bars? I mean, we have them on SQPN. We have social media sharing bars, but the ones that float as on the page as you scroll up and down, they get in way of the content, and they're really annoying. And it's even worse on your phone because the screen is smaller and you get these things in the way. What Unobstruct does is it blocks those. It unobstructs your view of the content. I'm not always in favor of messing with what other people want to do with their sites, but if they block their own content, usually they don't realize it. Most people don't want to block their own content. So this helps with that. So it's called Unobstruct, and I'll put a link in the show notes. And it's very basic. You install it, then you go into Settings app, Safari, Content Blockers, and enable it. And then it does its thing. You don't have to worry about it anymore, and it will be there, and it will stop those things from getting in the way of reading your favorite web pages. So, Unobstruct.
So check it out.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think that's about it. We had some really good discussion tonight. I'm really grateful to you guys. Before we finish, I do want to talk about Patreon a moment. I want to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Mark C., Alan and Melissa K., Masij B. Masij, I'm sorry. Every time I say your name, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. It's Polish. It's Macieij, but I do my best. John L. and Les R. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us on this topic. I do want to point out a little programming note. There won't be a show next Thursday, because the next Thursday is Thanksgiving Day, and I'm not going to be editing a show that day. I'm making a turkey. So take the day off, and we'll be back the following week with a new show. So we do want to hear from you, and if you have any comments or anything you want to say about what we've been talking about, you can go to sqpn.com/technology and leave a comment there, or at the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send us an email to technology@sqpn.com. And of course, we'll have links to the stories and to the picks and the gift guide items on our show notes at sqpn.com/technology. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, your favorite podcast app, or at our SQPN YouTube channel, where you should hit the bell to get notifications of new episodes. And so until next time, Jack Barzini, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Tom.
And Thomas Sanherho, thank you as well.
It was a pleasure.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.